With just months before the state government reveals plans on the future of fishing in New South Wales, the industry is rightly nervous. Under current proposals, commercial fishing licences in Lake Macquarie and Botany Bay will be bought out. With voluntary acquisition in other catchments, that will be partly funded by a $25 licence fee for recreational anglers. But there's concern the state government will push for compulsory acquisition of all licences in all areas.
This area of the coast is very well sought after by the recreational fishers, and we can see Tuggerah Lakes, Port Steele, Mile Lakes, which is the whole area covered by our co-op.
There are 200 commercial fishing licences between the Central Coast and Seal Rocks, all supported by small fishing cooperatives. The industry's fear is that all these will close down. Fishing cooperatives are urging the state government to rethink the entire plan.
Treasury should allocate funding to the Fisheries Department to get them over this initial problem, and then the whole system should start again.
Blake Doyle, NBN News. After 18 years in mothballs, there was plenty of pomp and ceremony to welcome back No. 2 Squadron, Australia's oldest and most decorated flying unit. Governor-General Sir William Dean was on hand to rededicate the squadron's colours, watched by hundreds of former No. 2 Squadron members. The new squadron will be based at Williamtown and will fly the airborne early warning and control aircraft. They won't take to the skies until 2004.
This is the activation stage so that we can make sure that the squadron end of the project is run properly before the aircraft arrive.
Ground support for the AWACS will come from the $12 million Eastern Region Operations Centre, also officially open today. Former members have flocked to Williamtown for the squad's rebirth, providing a chance to catch up on old times.
Oh, it's good. A lot of them I last saw in '91 in Brisbane. Had a big reunion there, and no, it's really good to see a few of them.
It's great. It's good to see so many old guys again. We've all aged somewhat, but that's to be expected.
But an unexpected old friend of the skies flew into Williamtown to help in No. 2 Squadron celebrations. This super constellation is just one of 3 left in the world. Built in 1954 and retired in 1977, it was rescued from the scrap heap and restored. The super constellation will be the centrepiece of an antique plane collection, open to the public this weekend at Williamtown's Fighter World. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Clouds loomed overhead as the Super Sopper drank what it could, and given the puddles that remained, the exercise looked futile. But this club does anything to get the game on.
It makes it very difficult, especially when you have a look at our crowds this year. You know, the crowds have increased up to around 7,000, averaging around there, and we get some bad weather, and all of a sudden we're down around 4.
Groundsman Jimmy James didn't need the key to test just how soaked the ground was, but Soccer Australia declared it okay for play tonight. However, the weather is sure to limit attendance figures once again, and for a club that depends so heavily on big crowds, things could be better.
It hurts quite a bit. It affects our cash flow quite dramatically, and that's something that any business needs, and especially a sporting business, needs to survive.
Meanwhile, coach Lee Sterry has omitted Vasco Trasevski from the squad of 15 he chose midweek, opting to keep Damien Smith on the bench, with new selection Chris Tancheski. But as to whether he starts with Greg Owens tonight depends on just that, the weather. There were almost as many fit as there were injured nights at training today. Sean Rudder, the latest casualty, out with a nagging leg problem, while First Division hooker Ben Donaldson joined the squad. Slotting into the role, regular rank Danny Badiris filled in at halfback and may well stay there should Andrew Johns have to pull out on Sunday.
Of course, yeah, he's an important part of our situation here, but we're expecting he'll be right to play.
And with Hughes playing at 5'8", the halfback will command plenty of attention from the Cowboys.
To start with, you put him under a hell of a lot of pressure. He's on his own. He hasn't got his brother there to take some of that pressure off him. So you limit his opportunities and get in his face defensively all the time, and you can bet we'll be doing that.
With or without Joey, Hughes knows the Cowboys' game plan won't change much.
And looking forward to that challenge, and we'll have a few tricks up our sleeve too, and it's a good day.
Ben Kennedy isn't the best for Newcastle either, but will play. The Cowboys too have major problems. Top of the list, Julian O'Neill.
Julian's giving himself a chance. Tomorrow morning we're having a 9 o'clock training session, so after that we'll make a decision before we fly out.
They were teeing off between rain showers at the Charlestown course today, but behind the scenes a storm is brewing over the ownership of the course. The Awabakal Land Council believes it belongs to them and has enacted an official land rights claim, prompting a swift reaction from the club's board.
Not allowed to say that on TV.
So you were surprised?
We were very surprised.
The club has been licensed by Lake Macquarie Council to use the Crown land for almost 3 decades. The club says during that time it's spent more than $5 million on the 18-hole course and facilities. Many of the 1,400 members are worried all that could be lost.
It's not real good for the golfers, I suppose. It depends what they want to do with it, whether they want to take it over or keep it as a golf course and just run the show.
Facilities in Lake Macquarie are pretty sparse as it is, so we don't need to lose any more.
The Awabakal Land Council wouldn't explain the reasons behind its action today. The Department of Land and Water Conservation is currently assessing the claim.
We will be appealing against that if there is if it is granted to the Awabakal.
Paul Lobb, NBN News. The Hunter Life Education mobile classroom was at the repairers today after more than $5,000 worth of electrical equipment was stolen while the van was parked outside a school in Stockton. A large screen TV, VCR and digital video disc player were taken after a small person squeezed in through a window. The education unit will now be off the road until the equipment can be replaced.
The irony is that these sorts of thefts usually are for spending money on drugs and alcohol, and that's exactly what our programs are trying to prevent.
Meantime, police are asking the driver of a silver Toyota Starlet to come forward, who they believe witnessed an accident on King Street at Warners Bay yesterday. A 79-year-old woman was hit by a car on this crossing about 1 o'clock and later died in hospital.
The small country town of Denman had 2 bank branches until the 1990s. Both moved out, but the Upper Hunter Credit Union moved in. And it's obviously proved viable, with the town today getting its first ever ATM.
Here, the credit union, everyone's a shareholder, so we feel that delivering these services is one way of paying a dividend to the local community.
State National Party leader George Souris then became the teller's first official customer. And there'll be plenty more, with the community now having access to cash 24 hours a day without travelling more than 20 kilometres to Muswellbrook.
I know of people that actually did get in their car at 8 o'clock at night and drive to Muswellbrook to get cash out of an ATM because they needed cash then and there for whatever reason, and they didn't have it on them.
And while today was a step forward for the town, a new cinema and a $3 million multi-purpose medical facility to replace the local hospital are also in the works. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
The attack on Anne McAdam Kelly was carried out in busy Bolton Street outside the Newcastle Family Law Court in February last year. The mother of 4 who attended today's proceedings was walking with her young son when her husband of 20 years, from whom she had separated from, approached her with a large kitchen knife. Although she attempted to run away, he ran after her, stabbing her several times in the stomach and leaving her in a serious condition. In Newcastle District Court today, the 48-year-old Scottish immigrant pleaded guilty to 1 count of attempted murder. Intended evidence: McAdam Kelly admitted to police he breached an apprehended violence order before approaching his wife for the purpose of abducting her because he wanted to talk to her. He also told officers directly after the attack, "I think I killed her," and asked them to look after the children. Please make sure they go to a good home. McAdam Kelly will be sentenced later this week. Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
Sydney-based Energy Equipment Australia wants to turn the McDonald Group-owned Wangi Power Station into a more modern $35 million facility. The plant would accept green waste from Sydney to Bulahdelah and use a combustion process to convert it into steam, which in turn would power a turbine to generate electricity. But it sparked concerns from some local residents.
The local community, I believe, are a little confused. They feel a little betrayed because this was just right out of left field. They expected to have apartments or residential, and all of a sudden we go to a waste management system.
The residents think it's a great idea, but not for Wangi, saying it's no longer an industrial area and that local roads aren't up to the job. They've planned a public meeting for tomorrow night at the Wangi Workers Club.
It is an open forum. Anybody can discuss for and against the project, and depending on the outcome of that meeting, it depends on our next set of strategies that we develop.
Energy Equipment Australia says it understands the residents' concerns and wants to discuss the proposal with them. Colin Baldwin, NBN News. The Go Kids Go Karts program reads like a teenage dream. For 10 weeks, school sport is replaced by speeding around the Newcastle Kart Club's Mount Sugarloaf circuit. Lake Macquarie PCYC was searching for an activity attractive to young people, and karting seemed like a good idea.
As you can see, it's an exciting sport, so it certainly catches their attention.
But it's hoped it will do more than that. The course aims to improve self-esteem, encourage the students to take up sport and continue schooling. Along the way, it'll hand out a few lessons of its own on the mechanical side of things, teamwork and basic driving.
We're not encouraging them to speed, but we're encouraging them to drive safely, and also this will show them what happens if they do lose control in a safe environment.
The program is expected to become a regular part of the PCYC's activities. Believe it or not, the shore used to be out there. Since 1940, about 400 metres of land has been lost at Salts Bay, and while it looks picturesque, it's creating problems for flora and fauna. These problems would escalate if the water washed into nearby Blackned's Bay.
We would lose a most important habitat, and I suppose in the longer term, if it was allowed to continue, eventually there would be property put at risk as well.
The Clean Up Lake Macquarie project has come up with a $1.2 million works program, stage 1 of which would extend a stabilising rocky outcrop and use dredged sand to restore some of the shoreline. The plan will be on public display until the 28th of this month. Meanwhile, the fight is on to do something about a dangerous pedestrian crossing at Warners Bay. A 79-year-old woman died after being hit by a car at the King and John Street intersection on Friday. Councillor Bob Toussis is calling for the crossing to be moved.
It's uphill. You cannot see the pedestrian crossing, and it appears that the pedestrian signs that are up, the little circular ones, seem to be completely ignored.
They just see them as drug addicts or idiots and they don't care. Whereas a lot of them are people, they're human beings out there.
On hand to speak at the Business Club lunch, it was an earlier meeting, one with Soccer Australia that had Lee Sterry excited. Breakers Stadium was sized up for a potential semi-final match, and given the crowd that would be expected at such a game, Marathon Stadium could now be on the cards.
There's no doubt if we probably get through the first stage of the semi-finals, the home and away leg, that after that we would probably have to move to Marathon because hopefully the people in town do follow this team.
But first things first, and competition leader Perth Glory is the hurdle this weekend.
They'll be pumped up for a big performance against us because we have been their bogey team throughout the whole competition, so I don't think anybody has got the record we've got against Perth.
Sterry names his team tomorrow, but his biggest task may be keeping his team focused, given the current economic climate of the club.
At the end of the day, we've still got a job to do with 6 games to go, and we've got to keep focused on that.
Few teams have come close to Hunter during the three-day tournament, and the defending champions weren't about to slip up in the decider. Paul Markovic led the way for Sydney Southwest, but fellow Australian all-school rep Joshua Morgan made life tough for the visitors. In offence, Dwayne Nowd was in the zone, hitting a number from outside the arc as Hunter skipped away. The home side played with the dominance and confidence that comes with holding the title, and Nathan Collins continued the rout on his way to 21. Down 61-37 at the main break, Sydney tried in vain, but Hunter had every reply, snuffing out any kind of comeback with ease. The home side started having fun, Dale Hodges chiming in, while Chris Skilton and Damien Martin picked away to push the score past 100. Meantime, Nowd continued to mesmerise the opposition, sinking 34 points in the 103-73 win.
They all contributed extremely well. Dwayne Nowd in particular, I mean, he shot the lights out today, and that's what he's capable of, and he did extremely well.
Tournament MVP Nowd made the state side along with Joshua Morgan and Nathan Collins. Matthew John says he's 100% fit for the first time in weeks, and Brad Fittler believes if that's the case, the Knights' number 6 should be the Kangaroo 5/8 against the Kiwis, with the Australian captain at lock.
It's a fair chance. I think Matty Johns, I think he's the man for the job. He works great with outside backs. He's been there before.
Johns admits he's got the green and gold on his mind, but he's far happier not having to worry about an ankle injury ahead of the clash with the Sharks.
Yeah, it's the first time for probably 3 weeks that I've been this way, so it's a good feeling to run out there and have complete confidence that that the ankle will come through fine.
And while his brother Andrew didn't complete training last night, it was only precautionary.
He ran freely and decided to ice up the groin probably 20 minutes from the end, not because of pain, just to probably save a bit of gas in the tank.
One whose tank will be running on pure adrenaline is Ben Donaldson. The First Division hooker was called in for only his second game after Sean Rudder was ruled out.
Basically, he'll just have me going on and giving Danny a blow, and if Joey needs a blow every now and then to put Danny to half, and I'll go on and replace and push Danny into half, and I'll go to hooker.
Not the sort of thing you want to read with Test selection on Sunday night. Australian coach Chris Anderson has all but ruled out Adam McDougall as a chance to beat Matt Rogers for the Anzac Test.
As I said, if you play good football, you hopefully get rewarded for it. I can't sort of worry about what other people say and do. It's all out of my control. I just have to worry about playing good football.
Jim Callanan, NBN News. Since getting the call-up to the Newcastle team, Leo Denver has been a standout performer. However, there were fears he may miss tomorrow's match against Riverina.
I think he's going to be all right. He did have the flu, didn't train Wednesday, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be 100% for tomorrow.
Troubled only by a few nerves, the 23-year-old skipper Jared O'Doherty is ready to lead Newcastle out for one of his biggest games.
Yeah, I am actually. I'm a little bit more nervous than what I thought I would be. It's a big game, and having not done a lot of captaincy sort of stuff, it's probably the biggest assignment I've had so far.
The build-up for this campaign has centred on Newcastle's below-par performances in recent years at the Country Championships, and pressure is building on this year's team to bring home the title.
It's been in the back of our mind all the way along the Country Championships.
A country team to play before the Anzac Test match will be selected after the final. The game itself will prelude the local derby between Curry and Cessnock in Tooheys Cup action, while South play Waratah. On Sunday, West host North Nelson Bay, Central play Lakes, and Macquarie is at home to Maitland.
like somebody to come forward and help us because he was our son, and we want some answers.
They're the form side of the league at the moment, so if we can prove ourselves against them, it's going to, hold us in a bit of confidence for the upcoming games.
Earlier on in the season, the Coasties were proving to the rest of the league that they were one of the form teams in contention for the premiership. But a spate of unfortunate home games saw their position on the ladder slip. That was turned around last night as the Coasties opened up their account with a close-range goal from Nathan Byrne. That proved to be the first of many for the young star. Nathan chalked up 3 more goals for the Coasties, shattering Eastern Suburbs' defence. But still they didn't give up and even managed to put one of their own into the back of the home team's net, several more shots only narrowly missing their mark. The match has proved to be a timely victory for the Coasties as they play at North Power Stadium next weekend against Bankstown City as the opening match for Northern Spirit versus Canberra Cosmos. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Lakes United started the game with barely the shirt on their back, but soon stamped their tough attacking style all over the match, Brett Murphy opening the Seagulls account. Ian Burke converted and was outstanding for Lakes, making several breaks before getting through for a 4-pointer of his own. The Butcher Boys under captain Robbie McCormack just couldn't break through before Troy Miles got across just shy of the break, taking the score to 18-0. In the second half, the Seagulls ran in 4 more tries, full-time score 38-0.